guys and girls, and welcome to episode 71 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate it. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. It's time for me now to introduce you to the team. First up, he's a real-life Blade Runner after recalling defective robots in VR this week. It is, of course, Nathy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Yes, I am doing great. And Robo Recall is amazing, still.
Mm-hmm. You've been enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
And you're wearing that hot merch right now, you know?
Yes, Beat Saber merch.
Yeah.
It's as good as the game, they say, so.
Excellent review.
Yeah.
So next up, this guy's been making some unusual new friends this week. His new bestie is a tuna fish. It is, of course, the Rowdy guy. How are you doing, man? You all right?
That's me. I'm all right. Also, people in the chat are saying that Nady should take down his Christmas tree because it should not be there anymore.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
No, I'm doing great. Yeah, I make friends everywhere and every time, you know. This time I was a tuna fish.
Yeah, fishy friends.
Just happens.
They just swim towards you and that's it. They're just attracted to you. So next up, this guy's been paying the bills doing contract work. Not the usual contract work, though. He's been doing contract work in contractors. Keeping it locked and loaded, of course, is ZimTalk5. How are you doing, man? You all right?
Hey, Mike. How's it going? Yeah, good. I had a good week, finally. I've been waiting.
This makes a nice change.
I've been waiting for like a nice, comfortable, healthy week. This was that week, so
good to hear it.
Yeah.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. Well,
someone got laid.
Oh yeah!
Round of applause from everyone in the chat, please.
Yeah,
Last but by no means least, myself, the host of the show, Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis. We've got a jam-packed episode for you this week because we're going to be giving you all the info on the hottest VR tech announced at CES in Las Vegas, including the Vive Cosmos, Vive Pro Eye, the Pimax Business Edition, Pimax Eye Tracking modules, new graphics cards, and much, much more. But first, let's find out what everyone's been up to this week and their highlight of the week in the metaverse. And of course, let's fire it over to Nathy first to find out what you've been up to. Because last week, we threatened that if you didn't play anything this week, we'd have to kick you off the show. So,
Oh, well, that's why I played something, just so to not get kicked off this show, right?
Good to hear. What have you been playing?
Yeah, so I jumped into Robo Recall, and not because I wanted to play Robo Recall. I wanted to try out a 3D printed gun I got a while ago from the VR room. It's an arcade in Amsterdam, and I was like, what shooter could I play? You know, what kind of arcadey title can I jump into? And I was just searching back in time, and then I found Robo Recall. I totally forgot about that game. Seriously, when people come by here and I demo VR, that should be one of my choices in a way, but it never came up in my mind to use that. Well, I think it's a great game for starters, so I'm definitely gonna use it more. So that kind of came in as an extra in a way. But yeah, I used Robo Recall to try out this gun stock, this handgun stock, and I'm not sure about you guys, but I've never seen a handgun stock for an Oculus Touch controller before. So this was a first
handgun
for
stock.
me.
Do you mean like single, like a pistol? Like
Yes.
so you
Yeah,
slot it in?
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have it with you? I'd be really curious to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I do. Wait, let me grab it.
In the meantime, I'll sing some music for you.
Go ahead.
While Nathan's chair hits the microphone. Oh no, he's back. I didn't have to sing. Thank
Sorry
God.
about that. Yeah, here it is. This is the.
Oh, it's cool.
Ooh. So basically, to describe it to the audio listeners, it kind of looks like something like out of like Judge Dredd or like Blade Runner or something like that.
It's got your bloody name on it.
Yes, my name is on that as well.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, it's great. It's really nice. It's not for competitive games. It's not for Onward, Contractors, or Pavlov. This is more for the single player adventures, like Arizona or.
It looks really Judge Dredd. I don't know if you guys are getting
Yeah.
that same vibe, but it's getting like a real heavy pistol. You know, it's black, and is it light or is it kind of heavy?
It is quite heavy, yeah. And that's why I preferred using it in Robo Recall with, for example, the laser gun, right? Because that one is pretty big, and also the revolver. Like in general, the weapons in Robo Recall are big, right? So it matches. But it's a good workout because you feel the weight, but it also adds up to the immersion because it feels like you are holding the gun too. So this one is, let's say, universal in a way. I mean, it doesn't look like a pistol, it doesn't look like a revolver, it doesn't look like a laser gun. So it matches with the smaller hand pistols. But this is not you can't modify it while you're playing. I mean, you have to put this into the base. You need to slide the controller inside the stock, and then you can't just pull it out. So it's not something you want to use to quickly throw a grenade or something like that. It's really for just that single player.
I still want to see you play like Beat Saber with that thing, to be honest. It'd be just funny.
Well, there are some Beat Saber controllers out there.
Are those for
now.
sale, Nathy? Are they like are they something that you can buy on a website, or is the 3D print model available for people?
So
like
this is
printer?
Well, this is a custom 3D printed one that I got from the VR room, and I think they work together with a company here in the Netherlands to make this together. So it's kind of like exclusive to them in a way. And as far as I know, if you do want one, you can email them. It's the vrroom.nl, but there's also a English flag on there, so you can translate it, and then you can buy one from them. But I've seen a lot of people already saying, like, can you not just release the blueprint so we can do it ourselves? But I'm not sure if they want to.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to sell it, and so I get both points. But yeah, if you do want to get one, you can, and maybe you can even request your own little logo in there. I think it's kind of nice.
What
or a
about
different
the
color.
well, sometimes 3D printed models can be a little bit frail. Do you find it's quite robust, or do you think that the print could be done with a better material?
No. This is like some strong stuff. Yeah, no, it is.
Good.
It's solid. It's a lovely design, and it's just great for that extra immersion, and I'm definitely gonna use it more in some other games and see how well it translates. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Cool. Good to hear. Well, let's kick it over to Rowdy then to find out about how he met his little fresh friend.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the game that I wanted to talk about, was Fisherman's Tale. I've only played the second episode like this week. I played the first episode, right when it came out. But it's an amazing kind of game. I really think that there's something that I haven't tried yet before, just because it's so it uses certain mechanics so well, and I would like to see more of these kind of things in virtual reality as well. The way that they play with like that kind of Inception feeling that the Fisherman's Tale does so well, it's just mind blowing. That because you can't really conceive it while you play it on just a regular 2D screen. I don't think it would look so cool or so epic, but you kind of know what is happening. You kind of know how it's going to look, but to actually be in there, it's a really crazy experience, I think. I'm really looking forward to this game, and I think it's coming out on January 25th, if I'm correct. So it's not that far away anymore, but that's definitely a title that I'm going to play to the fullest. Yeah, I really want to experience that one more. It's one of the few games in virtual reality that also like kept me in there, like playing around with just pretty much everything that I could grab in that room. It's also one of the games that really startled me in the beginning, because when you get to do the Inception kind of stuff that you do in this game, it's really easy to like fool yourself, or to trick yourself into like doing things that you weren't actually expecting to do, and that makes the game even more awesome, I think. It's a really cool time.
It's incredibly clever puzzle design, I really enjoyed my time with it as well, because we only had access to like, what is it, the first two chapters, and I think there's 5 or 6 in total when the game fully launches. So it's not going to be super long, but I would say that it's going to be a really good experience because, the voice acting is really great as well. The story is being narrated to you the whole time. Yeah, super nice. So definitely looking forward to that one as well. Yeah, nice one.
Yeah.
So what about you then, Zim? What have you been up to, dude?
I went back in time. I usually cheat on this, and I mention multiple things, but I'm just gonna be nice and just do one. So I played a game that reminded me of there's a really old title called Lunar Flight, which is a lunar lander game from ages ago, and Lunar Flight was kind of I wanted to love it. You take off in your little lunar lander and you'd like try to go from point A to point B, and you'd overshoot and all. It was kind of too much of a simulation for me. Even though I tend to be a sim guy and tend to prefer those kinds of things. But I played a game called Firma, Firma, and Firma it hadn't crossed my path, except for Steam sales and things like that in the past, where it was like a couple of quid or whatever. I think it's only like £5 or something now on Oculus Home, but I think it relaunched on Oculus Home at some stage. And because I'd played some other games, it recommended this game to me, and I was like, oh yeah, I'd never managed to hit that. I'm so glad I got to play it. There's a big caveat I have to say, but like the feeling of they fix your horizontal position, which I think is the magic part, because it means that with Oculus Touch controls or a gamepad, you're able to like really enjoy the whole kind of takeoff, grab cargo, move it somewhere. You even have a turreting system, so it feels you're like on a variety of different space bases on this planet where the levels are kind of dotted around the planet that you kind of rotate, and then you pick and you go in and you do it. It's really easy to get into, like really low, not very much HUD, not much in the way of tutorials, just one little panel in your display that gives you any kind of instructions. Very intuitive, so super fun. And the one big caveat is because this game is from 2016, and that Oculus at some stage, took the touch controls and broke them apart as a gamepad unit or whatever. Unfortunately, if you're playing the game in its current build, Jan 2019, you get to level 4 and you can't shoot the turrets with touch controls. Really weird. Like you can't, because there's no left bumper. These are only equivalents of like a left bumper. You can't fire. And so you have to switch to a gamepad to continue from that point. It was driving me nuts.
Is it officially supported for the touch controllers?
I didn't see any mention of official support for touch.
I don't think so. I played it as well with a gamepad, but I can't remember them ever updating it for touch controllers. But let's say if you are looking into FedEx simulators on the moon, then this is it. It's great. I really enjoyed it. I was also kind of late to that because Firma was, I think, originally some kind of DK1, DK2 demo, and then they overhauled it and called it Firma, and it's nice. I enjoyed it. It's been a while. Like you mention it now, I'm like, oh wait, I remember.
But feels good. Like that's the best thing about it is the game like feels really good, and they really like if you're in a VR game, it takes trials. We know like everyone's played Beat Saber, right? You nail the feel. It doesn't really matter anymore. It just you just right in, you drop into it, and that's the best thing. So I do recommend people check this out. And the landscape has as much attention to detail as like an Elite Dangerous landscape when you land on interplanetary landings and things. So for someone who's like itching for something spacey, even the races, like where you're piloting this craft through canyons and stuff, are really good. So they do a lot of things kind of simple and just done really well. So Firma, if you're interested in it, check it out. That's my highlight.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm definitely going to check that one out. I'll put that on my list of things to check out next week for sure. I like these little hidden gems that we end up sort of finding on the show and talking about, and it kind of gets everyone else kind of excited to replay them again. I love that part of the show where we do that. But this week I didn't really play that much because I was kind of busy glued to my screens covering all the CES news, which obviously we're going to be covering later on. But there is one thing that I did do that I kind of wanted to talk about, and that was I checked out the new Oculus Home update because they updated the Home sort of program, and basically now they've enabled it so you can live stream from Oculus Home directly, and also you can invite more people over to hang out in your Oculus Home. and for some reason, I don't know how it happened, but my home environment just got totally trashed, and I'm not sure how.
A bomb exploded.
I think what happened was that I didn't lock it after placing everything around. So basically what happened was, one day I must have accidentally picked up the carpet, which everything was kind of glued to, and then everything just kind of exploded everywhere. It was a complete mess. So I was like,
saying is that you've been like the victim of like some kind of like house burglary or something.
In VR.
Exactly, that's what it felt like. Exactly. And now that like this new update from Oculus, well, people can come and visit your house if you open it up to the public. And I was like, well, I don't want people to come around and think bad of me, like I'm just like some slob. You know, I need to tidy this up. So yeah, I spent some time like reorganizing my room and sort of getting that all sorted. So that's all clean and tidy now. But it kind of reminded me of a funny story, because me and Nathy did a video on the Oculus rooms a while ago, where we sort of did like a little tour of each other's like virtual houses. And the funny thing was, like, Nathy had posted his video, but I hadn't posted mine yet. And one of his fans decided that it would be kind of cool to visit our rooms. But when he visited, I was actually in my room and I didn't know the fact that he was there. And then this voice just said something behind me, and I literally like, it scared the crap out of me. I was like, what's some like dude in my room? And he was like, oh, hey, I'm like, I watched the video and I saw it. I wanted to visit it. So we ended up talking. He was like super cool guy. But it was kind of scary, just some random stranger being in your room.
I think on default, it's actually open for everyone, because I have a same story where someone said like, yeah, I heard you doing your intro and I was just recording and I have my riff like on the floor.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I didn't want to disturb you, so I left again. I was like, oh. And then I went into the settings and then I found out that there are actually some privacy things you can turn on if you want.
Some people in the chat saying that your room is not public anymore, Mike. So people have been checking it out.
Oh no, it should be. I changed it. It should be now. Like from a couple of days ago, it should be. If it isn't, then I'll go and check it again and I'll open it up.
I do want to warn you for one person. I see that Vivian is trashing people's rooms in Oculus home. So beware of this troll, please.
Damn you.
So I want to ask Nathan a question. Actually, is your Oculus home still the same as it was?
Yes.
Okay. So
go check it out.
Yeah, if you want to see something kind of strange but kind of funny as well, go and check out Nathan's Oculus home. It's hilarious.
Please do.
Yeah. Post the pictures on Twitter because
please.
You'll like them. But yeah, I got to check out some of the other functions as well. Obviously, the live streaming one is one of the big new features. You can live stream now directly from Oculus Dash what you're seeing through the headset to a Facebook page, which is kind of cool. If you're, amateur content creator, you want to just share some stuff with your friends and family, you can do that super easy now without having to mess around with OBS or anything else. So that's really nice. The only thing is, as a sort of content creator that sort of creates content on YouTube and live streams every now and again, you really want to live stream to a managed Facebook page. You don't want to stream to your personal one, and they don't have that option right now. So it's kind of a bit of a shame that you can't live stream to a managed page. Hopefully they change that in the future, but also, of course, adding more platforms as well, such as YouTube, Twitch, Mixer, Caffeine, all the other sort of streaming platforms. It'd be nice to stream to them as well. But the other cool part of the update is that you can invite up to 8 people over to your house now, and kind of hang out together in your own virtual room and kind of watch content together, because of course you can stream anything from your desktop to your virtual home.
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of neat.
It was quite restricted before, I think. It was only like 3 or something, was it?
It was only 2, so you could have yourself and one other come over. But it's kind of nice now. You can get 8 people in total in your room. That'd be super cool to like watch E3 together in there or something like that. Because we occasionally watch stuff together or hang out in a Discord to like watch some CES content. So doing something like that in the future would be really nice to do with you guys. But I kind of wish that it was kind of more interactive and you had more to do in there, a bit like Oculus Rooms on Go, where you can play board games together. I think that's a really neat feature.
No, I agree.
And also having that launch pad, which we tried in Oculus Rooms on the Go as well, where you can say, we're going to group up now, and then we're all going to jump into From Other Suns together and automatically be combined as a team.
Yeah.
So I really hope they keep on doing this, and I'm sure they will, and I'm sure it'll be a feature in the future. But it was nice to see them continue to update it anyway.
Just one more thing, Zim. Next time that you're making a video about like some weird kind of content and you're doing it in Oculus Home, be careful, because other people might be joining you into this room as well. You appear on Twitter.
Wise advice.
Oh.
From an experienced gentleman.
Exactly. My room is on private now on.
But I mean, Mike, you're right. Like, there's not a whole heap of stuff you can do right now together that is a reason for being in that virtual space. And like, we were kicking back and forth midweek on Twitter, and I still think, and I took this idea from Notch, the guy who made Minecraft. He originally was going to implement a server connector that was a doorway, and that you'd be able to just kind of, and I just thought for VR, we should just have that. We should just have the ability to say, I want Mike's room's door right there. So people can then organically find their way from place to place. And then you wouldn't have the physical limitations of having, like, I was going to say a cell tower, but, like an apartment block. But because we had that back in the day with, what was that web? Like, not Janus VR, but back in that day, Nathie, I don't know if you remember, there were, you could actually get a virtual room decorated as you wanted in Unity, and then people could come there to like floor 3, level 2. It was like a virtual apartment, and I just think that if they decoupled that, made it more like wormholes, then people could.
Yeah, that would totally make sense. Like a door behind you that goes to a lift, and then that lift has like 100 floors, and they're your favorites, your favorite rooms, and then it loads as you're in the lift, so it's just like you feel like walking in and out. That would be a really neat feature. That would be really cool.
Imagine having Zim as a neighbor. Then I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You can hear everything through those tiny virtual walls. You know?
So let's move on to some quick news then, and I just wanted to give you a quick update about PT, because I touched on this on last week's show and give you a bit of information about this like port of this infamous spooky game called PT being ported to VR. However, it seemed at the time that it was kind of broken, so I kind of gave you a bit of a caveat warning there. But it seems that the dev, Radius Gordello, has been super quick on updating it, actually. And he's updated it this week that apparently solves all the VR problems that people were having. I think a lot of people were reporting like kind of fishbowl visual effects, and apparently that's all gone now. So if you want to go and check it out, it's on itch.io now. It is for free. But it's also worth noting that the dev, although he updated the game, he also said that he's going to take it down from itch.io in a week's time. So if you want to experience it, go and download it now, save it on your hard drive, maybe play it another day. But get it while it's still there, because once it's gone, I think it's going to be gone forever.
And I guess
the reason why you're taking it down.
Well, the thing was, Jacksepticeye actually played it using the Vive Pro this week, and I think it got a bunch of attention, which is great for him, but also bad in a way, because it could get attention from Konami, who are thinking, well, we're going to sue this guy now.
I'm sure.
So I think he's a little bit worried about that, because he said that it was a project that he worked on between school terms. So it was kind of like a project for him, and he doesn't want to get himself into hot water. So you can understand why he's going to take it down. So if you're interested...
Jack is watching our podcast that, this game is going to be taken.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah,
guys.
exactly.
Hey, Jack, what's up?
This is where he gets all his freshest VR scoops from.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm planning to play this one next week. So if you're not brave enough to play it yourself, maybe you can swing by and check out the video or the stream, whatever I end up doing with that one. Did any of you guys check it out, by the way, or you've been holding off?
I want to. The only reason I haven't played it yet is because I wanted to hold it for a proper show night. It's one of my things. I don't play new stuff outside of my main 4 show nights. So
cool. So now it's been updated. Now's the perfect opportunity.
I ordered my brown pants, so
you're ready.
Welcome.
So the next bit of quick news this week is EchoVR possibly coming to Quest. Because this week, the Lone Echo and EchoVR developers, Ready at Dawn, responded to a question on Twitter asking if they'll be bringing EchoVR, including obviously Echo Arena and Echo Combat, to the Oculus Quest. And the devs responded saying, our devs are still experimenting with the Quest for now. Keep an eye out for updates in the future. So no confirmation that they're working on anything solidly, but it's great to hear that they're trying this stuff out. Of course, they been working with Oculus for a long time. And I think it's probably unlikely that we'll ever see Lone Echo or Lone Echo 2 on the Quest because of the graphic scale and fidelity of that game. It's a super nice looking game. But it would be awesome if they could port over Echo Arena and Echo Combat. They're small arenas, with very sort of basic looking graphics.
You could bake the lighting. You could definitely package that for mobile. And the freedom that you get from the Quest, no tether, no cable, is actually important for games like this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think having like a really hardcore competitive game for the launch of the Quest is going to be vital, I think,
Yeah.
regardless of what it is, whether it's this or something else. But I think that kind of competitive spirit, people really love that. Not that I'm a competitive player myself, but I think it would be great to launch with a game like that.
Multiplayer in general for the Quest is gonna be good. Because
For
you
sure.
could, if you know a few friends who own a Quest 2, you can easily come together and play something. So I think it's a great party device too.
I'll take a low poly from Other Suns any day, please.
Low poly.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
but I'd love it.
Not we didn't really mention it on last week's show, but we played From Other Suns again the other day, didn't we, Zim? And Zim inspired me to play it again actually after completing it, and now I'm like super intrigued what happens at the end. It's like I need to know. But we got like what 60% to Earth.
60%, and we are fucking dead. We've got one crew member left.
Screwed.
There's no way we're beating the game on this run, but hey, we'll get together again.
There was a point where I was the only survivor left, the only human left, and then Zim and John Hibbins from SciTech Games was like robots, and they were basically getting murdered in this mission. So they were respawning back on the ship, and I'd see them run up the stairs, get on the teleporter, get murdered, spawn in the ship, run up the stairs, I was just waving to them as they like do this like little merry-go-round. It's hilarious. But yeah, go and check out From Other Suns if you haven't checked it out already.
I'm only thinking now, but next time we're in that particular scenario, Mike, you're going to be the guy who reloads the guns. Reload the ammo. Well, that said, I guess we were dropping them, so yeah, we wanted you to stay safe.
I make the tea, I sweep the floors, and reload the guns. That's my only role on that ship.
Say that. Yeah, after your room is clean, huh, Mike?
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to some other quick news, which is the Rec Room stats. We got some interesting stats from Rec Room this week. The devs Against Gravity recently posted a blog post on their website with a roundup of all the great work they did in 2018. And this is still amazing. It still amazes me that this is a free application because they had some incredible updates last year. They had new quests. They had Rec Royale, which was obviously their take on the Battle Royale genre, which was super fun. And they also implemented player-created rooms, so people can go and create their own rooms and own content for other people to enjoy. And here's some really interesting stats from their experience in 2018. They had over 400,000 player-created rooms made, 70 million room visits by other people. Apparently 40% of all player time is now spent in player created rooms, which is incredible. Player created rooms have been visited over 300,000 times. Over 5 million photos have been taken. 5.2 million friends have been made. And the most interesting stat of all is that Rec Room has been installed on over 1 million VR headsets, which obviously covers PC and PSVR headsets. So that's pretty decent. Like 1 million installs across PCVR headsets is pretty incredible. I'd imagine it rates it out there as one of the most installed.
Wait, so that doesn't even include PlayStation yet?
No, it does. It does.
Oh, it does.
It's got to. It's got to.
I was like, whoa, so it's going to be even bigger now.
Yeah.
Okay. That's great.
And also, they added, obviously, support so people that don't even own a headset can jump into the game as well now. But it's really interesting. Like 1 million installed on PC and PSVR headsets is a great
Plus,
number.
maybe Rec Room on the Quest. I mean, they have been kind of winking at that. So
the game would work so well on Quest.
They would. That's another one of those, like, they would utilize the freedom of the movement, but also it's, to me, when I think of Rec Room, if I was to describe it to somebody who wasn't in the VR scene, I'd say for the youth of today's world, it is actually the same as Fortnite. It's like a meetup place. It's a place where you hang out with your friends, you just kind of chill out, and you play a myriad of things together.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the only caveat that I'd give it, is that if you're an older, more mature person, then you might find it a bit too immature and a bit too childish for your liking.
Meet up with your friends there, I think. I mean, I play still regularly, and I never really have any problems. But I make like private rooms, I invite people, and also the thing with Rec Room is that it's just an amazing kind of title in general. There's always something that you'll like to do there. So
yeah.
I don't really know if it will be a launch title with the Quest, but I think it would be weird if they would not bring it eventually to the Quest.
Yeah, it would totally make sense.
It's also, like, honestly, it's one of the only games I played where I was able to communicate and interact with people that are on PlayStation VR. I rarely play any title that allows me to There's so many places VR players in there, just uniting with the PC ones, and it works. So
And also, since it's free, it's one of those titles that you just have to try. When you buy a virtual reality headset and you go into a rec room, you have a perfect idea of what VR should be about. And I think that is a very strong point.
I only have one strong point for the dev team, which is those bloody coach emails that say, "Hey, you've got a friend." There's no bloody unsubscribe button on that. It's one of those like, go manage your settings on this page. Then if you don't have your login or whatever, it's a pain in the ass. So if they could change that, I'd love it.
Yeah, you can change that. You can, but you need to go to recnet.
That's what I'm saying.
It's rec.net. Yes.
Yeah,
you can't do it in game. No.
Be nice. Let people unsubscribe from those emails from the email you get.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing.
No, I agree.
But a really interesting experience is if you ever go in there with PSVR Frank or Nathy, like, they get recognized and like surrounded by groups of people instantly. It's hilarious to watch. But it's like someone famous, on a Hollywood Boulevard being swarmed by fans. That's what it looks like. It's so funny.
The one thing that stands out to me in Rec Room is when you go in for a game, even if you use the setting to say match me with like older players or whatever, inevitably you're matched, but you notice the height of other players. Like that just stands out so strongly. Like you've got so many people who are like vertically challenged, who are just like
me included. Yeah.
But it's just really funny. Like some of them, you're like, that guy's got the headset on the floor, and then they're walking around. You're like, oh no, that's just a kid. That's like that's a very short kid. But there you go.
Exactly. So Rec Room killing it as always. So let's move on to one of the biggest disappointments of this week. Like, oh my days, how disappointed were we? And we're talking about Alien Blackout, of course. We've been talking about a new Alien game coming on the show for such a long time now, and I had my fingers and toes crossed for a sequel to Alien Isolation with full VR support. And the thing is, I just felt like it was going to happen because, the amount of attention that the Mother VR mod got, and the community loves the Mother VR mod for Alien Isolation. If you're not aware, it just mods the game so you can play it in VR. And we knew that there was a new Alien game coming out, so we were all kind of like hoping, dreaming that this would sort of fulfill our dreams. But sadly, we were disappointed because Alien Blackout was finally announced this week, and it's a mobile-only game. So it's not even a PC game or a console game; it's a mobile game coming to iOS and Android.
I think they like sat together. And it's like this new Alien thing is like getting a lot of attention. It's like you should look on Reddit. Look how many VR users want like an Alien game. They're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. This is so. How many VR users are there? Now we go mobile. There's more money there. Like
hell, Diablo's doing it, so feck it. Why not? Let's just go capitalize on the mobile. Pokemon did well. Surely it did well.
And that's the thing. Like, it kind of had a very similar backlash from the community that Diablo did with Blizzard because so many people were upset about it. I think Angry Joe did a video about it as well, that he was really upset about it. But interestingly, we have got a glimmer of hope. So bear with me. I did some research today, and it turns out that Alien Blackout is developed by a studio called Rival Games. And previously, when I talked about this game, I thought it was developed by another studio called Cold Iron Studios. And it turns out that they're actually developing another game. So it is another Alien game developed by this other studio that is still to be released or like more details announced. All we know so far is that it's coming to console and PC, and it's going to be a massively multiplayer online shooter, but that's it. So obviously we don't know if it's going to have VR support, but there is still a little bit of hope left. We can still pray.
Because how would a massively online multiplayer shooter work in the Alien genre?
Alien versus Predator.
So maybe you group up as a team of Marines, and then you can take on planets or missions together. Maybe that'd be kind of cool.
Could be co-op.
Maybe like a Destiny style.
It doesn't really have anything to do with Alien Isolation mod. We can like bang that and like
But who wants?
We don't know. We don't know yet. We don't know.
Do you guys feel at all burnt out on Alien Isolation? I played it a load, and like I wouldn't want Alien Isolation 2. I'd want something.
I would.
You would go for a second kind of run with Amanda.
Although I would like it if it was aliens rather than aliens. So there was multiple aliens, and I was with the Colonial Marines, and they ditched all the androids.
Yeah. I think there is a lot more to be explored also on planets. I think there could be more there, single player wise. But honestly, I feel like I got clickbaited by the Game Awards and by all those tweets they send out. it's not cool. But remember, you all have phones, right? So you can just play it.
No.
Immersion
That's
factor on a mobile
that's
game.
what they said at the Diablo event. You
Yeah.
have phones, right? So what are you complaining about?
Yeah, deal with it.
Yeah, deal with it.
Like,
If you don't like it, don't play it. Like
I'm
EA
more-
said, you
I'm
know.
more forgiving for something like Diablo. Like, I mean, I've heard good reports about Diablo on Switch and a Diablo mobile game. I actually think being a longtime Diablo fan makes some sense. Like, of course, it's not the thing to bring on big stage. That's not a smart way to release it. But this one,
Okay.
I don't know. A horror game on mobile. Have you ever, any of you, played an immersive horror experience on mobile that you liked?
Yeah, I did in cardboard.
I never play games on my phone, so I can't really.
Okay. Yeah, some
No.
people are like
But
that.
There's
They're
only
like,
one place. There's only one place where people play games on their phones, and everyone does it.
cute, Rowdy, cute. We know
But-
the answer to that puzzle.
But after Sim saying that he likes Diablo on mobile, I think he needs to take a new address because the pitchforks are getting.
Oh yeah, sharpened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was some quick news this week.
Anticlimactic for sure.
Actually, before we move on to game
Wow.
releases, before we hand it over to Zim, let's find out what everyone in the chat's been playing. We didn't ask them.
Oh, yeah.
So
Now I usually ask, but since I have no, but yes, please let us know, please.
Yeah, if you-
Also,
if you
if you
know-
haven't subscribed yet, please do. We're almost at 1,000. So
almost
It's
almost
probably
there.
all gonna be Diablo mobile.
Hmm. So any comments about what people played this week in the
Yes.
chat?
Yeah, Kenneth Byrne played Fallout 4, Echo Combat all week, Iron Wolf. Oh, I love that one. Contractors.
Have you played
Werewolf,
Iron Wolf,
Ghost-
Rowdy? Have you played Iron Wolf?
I've played Iron Wolf.
Is it
yeah, I
good?
have. I liked it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a pretty decent simulator game.
Like World War II sniper type thing, right?
Yeah.
It's been on my wish list for like a year, which is why I'm asking.
I think it's
don't
the
keep
most
much on
fun
my
with a
wish list.
friend, by the way, not standalone. It's great
Okay.
multiplayer.
It's
Yeah.
co-op, right?
Yeah.
Someone threw up in his bed and went to bed. He had a great night, he says. From Other Sons, I see as well, and Gorn. What Tooks played Gorn. Always
Gorn Hub.
okay. Beat Saber. Yeah, people have been playing a lot of games actually. Paradise EK
Cool.
played Farpoint. Ah.
A lot of classics.
Oh yeah,
Farpoint's
still need to
brilliant.
play that game. I still
Yeah,
need to play that
I was
game.
like, did you get to it already, or?
No, I should.
I'm sticking.
I should.
Didn't I
Remember-
give you a bundle of that? Oh no, I don't
Yes,
think
yes,
so.
you
Did I?
did. Yeah, you did, yeah.
that was the whole video, the gun and all that. And
That's what makes it even worse. That I've had
Yeah,
this
I feel
since
very
I've
sad.
owned my
Look at me.
PSVR.
He
know.
betrayed me. I'm
Last
giving
time-
him a present and he's not even using it.
Don't even play it.
if you're watching the video podcast, you can see the palpable guilt in Mike's face right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for buffering.
Friendship is over. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Corbett on Facebook played Subnautica.
Hey.
Oh, cool.
I actually played some stuff as well, but it wasn't in VR.
That's from me.
Oh.
The one thing I was going to say about Farpoint is, you wouldn't think it, but Farpoint and The Invisible Hours were written by the same gentleman, and they both have good stories. So,
And that same gentleman was recently hired by Valve.
and is working on Half-Life 3 VR. Anyway, that's for another
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah.
I'd love it if
That would be.
he's got the skills. That's all I'm going to say. Rob Yescom is the guy's name. All right,
Zim
so
knows Morse, people. He knows everything.
I know Morse code. Well, anyway, not for another day.
So
Releases.
let's hand it over to Zim for the lowdown on the games that we should and maybe shouldn't be playing next week.
He's referring to last week's Tower of Pizza, clearly.
Yeah, the Temple of Pizza. Did anyone try the Temple of Pizza? Let us
Oh
know.
my
in the
God.
chat.
I should have tried it. I was excited about it.
I
but,
feel
no.
bad I'm giving the developer any spotlight anymore. We got to stop talking about it. It's just, oh man. Anyway, all right. So this week, what do we have? We have actually some, the total pedigree of this week's games exceeds 50 years in gaming. So this is not for the faint-hearted. This is for people who know these long-baked series. So firstly, the one I'm going to start off with is Disney and Square Enix. Disney and Square Enix have been working on Kingdom Hearts VR Experience, which is a 10-minute PSVR experience. It's going to be landing for free Jan 18th. So this one's really interesting. So one thing I was going to say was, as teased by a YouTuber called Keyblade Sarah in VR chat, who released a whole series of videos of this, finally Kingdom Hearts is actually coming to VR. So I'm running the kind of trailer for this game. It doesn't show you very much. There are some screenshots and things like that available that look a bit better than the trailer. The trailer actually launched back in like September. But if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, or maybe you don't know anything about it, I didn't know very much. As I said, I'm not a Sony guy, and it's not been something that I've known much about. But Kingdom Hearts is like a huge game. It was first released in 2002 on PlayStation 2. The next game I'll be talking about has similar pedigree. But basically, I'll tell you a little bit about this title. So, as I said, it's a 10-minute, free to download, kind of interactive music-based experience. There are VR elements, and you do unlock things as you play it. For those who don't know Kingdom Hearts is like a series of crossover action role-playing games developed and published by Square Enix and Disney in partnership, which is interesting because there's this director involved with that project who worked on a lot of the Square Enix characters, and you can see that. One of the things you might notice that surprises you about this is that it's a crossover of various kind of Disney characters, and the majority of the characters in this fictional universe are from Disney. It's got things from Pixar, Final Fantasy, The World Ends, a whole bunch of different things.
It's really weird because at a certain point you're like playing with like Squall, and then you like need to meet up with like Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. So I played it a little bit, but it didn't really click with me. But I understand why people would like it, though.
You mean you've played the kind of flat Kingdom Hearts games?
Yeah, the flat. Yeah.
Well, this is one of those games that is landing in. So this is landing in Japan first. It's not clear if we're getting a Western release on the same day or if it'll be delayed. Okay. It was originally planned for a 25th of December Christmas Day release, and then was delayed. And they said that they were going to release kind of a second phase, additional content to this then some point later, which was meant to be kind of a month later in January. So now that's gotten bumped back a notch. So we've got this coming out the 18th of January, and now early 2019, the second bit coming. It's coming for free. It's coming on PSVR. And an interesting statistic here, Mike is always inspiring me to look after statistics, is that Kingdom Hearts has shipped more than 25 million copies worldwide as of June 2018. So not a small title, but I can say I've not played this. I'm glad you have, Rowdy. Either you other two guys, you played Kingdom Hearts before?
Yeah. I finished the first one and the second one. Oh. It's really nice. Yeah. But what I would have loved to see in the third one was that third-person view you have in Astrobot, for example, and just play the entire thing that way. But now they go for first person. Well, as far as I know, Kingdom Hearts has never been first person. So I'm like, oh, they just look at VR like, oh, it needs to be first person. So let's just make something there. And based on what I see on the trailer, it's kind of like a wave-based thingy there. But it's free, so I can't complain. But in the end, it would have been so cool if they just made a VR support thing.
I was equally underimpressed with the wave-based piece. Thankfully, that's one part of the experience, and you're going to go from like a whole bunch of different bits. The screenshots I saw were much more promising and actually looked like AAA in terms of their polish and shine. So definitely something I'll be checking out. This reminds me quite strongly of, there was another PSVR game with... I can't remember the name of it now. It's got this kind of dog bird. Anyone? Mike, you might know what I'm talking about. My little girl loves it. It's free and they never...
Come on, Mike. A dog bird. You know what I'm talking about.
A dog bird?
Trico. Someone in chat will help round this out. But there's a free...
Can you describe its shape and the sounds it makes?
It's not Shadow of the Colossus, but it's like something similar.
Yeah, exactly. You've got this whole kind of arena that looks almost Aztec.
That has a dog bird in it.
But not Shadow of the Colossus. Anyway, we'll figure that out and let you know what it is. Game 2. All right, I'll tell you about the next thing. So this one, if you have an itch for getting into the skies, this one is Ace Combat 7. I think Nathan tweeted about this earlier in the week as well. So this looks like quite an interesting flying title. So it's another really well-established console series. When I saw this name, I didn't link it back, but this the original was released in 1995. So some of you who are watching probably weren't even born then. And I remember various bits of this going along, but there's a ton of games. They've sold 14 million copies, 17 games in that time, and mostly on the PlayStation platform. Again, originally on PS2. This game that's coming out, it's got kind of a hangar mode, it's got an air show mode. Looks pretty darn good for PSVR, I gotta say, in terms of the kind of simulation kind of action that they've got. And they're going for this kind of middle ground between sim and an action game. Again, this is by Bandai Namco. This is a full price game, so do expect to pay $59.99 USD or about £45 in the UK. This is releasing on... Yep.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
finish your sentence.
I was going to say, so this is releasing on PS4 and Xbox One. Of course, Xbox One, you guys don't have the VR support, but the VR mode comes with the full game. So you're actually getting the kind of pancake game with the VR mode on it.
The previous game you were talking about, was it The Last Guardian? People are saying
it was The Last Guardian VR. That is a beautiful experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard that Ace Combat, this one that is coming out, features VR experiences. So it's not like you can play the full game in VR. I'm not sure, but people said that there are maybe 3 or 4 missions in there that are specifically made to be in VR. So
Yeah,
don't
that's
expect
exactly right.
to buy the game and then think that you can play everything in VR.
Yeah, because I'm actually really hyped about this game. I'm really looking forward to playing it. But yeah, I did some research as well, and there is only select missions that you can play using the PSVR. It's also worth noting you can't play the multiplayer in VR either. The game is actually coming out on PC as well on the 1st of February, but I also found out that it's going to be exclusive. The VR missions are exclusive to PSVR for a whole year.
Whoa.
So you can only play it on PSVR in VR for a year. Yeah.
Ouch. Well, thank you for that caveat, Nathan and Mike, because that is not something I caught.
No
those
worries.
are important. And for my kind of my third bit of release news this week, I wanted to kind of answer that itch, because when I saw this on PSVR, of course, the first thing you do is you go and you say, well, what else is on PC? And there's a couple of titles which I think are probably not worth your time, and one that I think is that you may have missed midsummer. So I'm just gonna rattle through those. So the names of the games that I'm gonna talk about shortly are Flying Aces Navy Pilot Simulator, VR Flight Simulator New York Cessna, and finally Project Wingman, for anyone who actually managed to back that on Kickstarter. Now, of these three, is the third one that I find to be most enticing. There is a free demo available, which is nice because you can hop into that. The other two are paid games, so I'll cover that just for a moment. Flying Aces Navy Pilot Simulator. I don't have a video for that up at the moment, but that one's $20 US, $15.49 in pounds. I played this yesterday and was not all that impressed. I had something that happened to me in this game. Firstly, the initial handshake was just way off. Like the voice acting sounds like somebody got their brother to do the voice acting and record the first encounter with the person who's giving you your mission. And then the weirdest thing happened to me, a kind of like a reverse fisheye effect on the cabin. Like you've got a nicely detailed interior. When you're looking around you, you flick some switches. It teaches you how to actually take off a plane, a fighter. But there was like this really strange effect, and I wonder if any of you played it, because my glove hand it almost felt like they were playing tricks in terms of scale, where my hand is far away from me, and as it comes closer, it feels like it's going through orders of magnitude growth, and then the detail was really nice, but the overall effect, I've never felt that in a VR game before. Really strange. They're doing some kind of trickery. Mike, did you find something?
So basically what it was, I watched Paradise Decay's video on it, and he experienced exactly the same thing, to the point where he was compelled to write, a bad review on the Oculus Store, which is great because, I think people need to know when a game is equally as good or bad. So, if you can, always leave reviews.
Yes.
But yeah, he had the same opinion of it. So I don't know if it's something they can fix or it's just the game's broken.
I feel like they're making a trick. So the game we're talking about is Flying Aces Navy Pilot Simulator. It feels like they're doing some kind of trick to give you maybe the full breadth of the cockpit in a smaller space or something. I couldn't put my finger on what they were doing, but it was the first time after 750 VR titles that I've felt that in a game. It didn't make me nauseous, but it was weird.
jarring.
So that's that one. Now there is a promising Steam title. So that was kind of like the maybe say Rift. That's available. They're both available on PCVR, so both platforms. But this one I wanted to show you as well. So there's a game called VR Flight Simulator New York Cessna, which tells me just by the context of the title that they're kind of trying to come out with more like this. But I want to show you what this game looks like, because although it looks quite promising, unfortunately the reviews aren't as glowing. This one has you flying in a Cessna 172, quite a small plane, over New York City. The city landscape is quite detailed, and actually, to be honest, looking at it, it reminds me of kind of the 95 Microsoft Flight Simulator and the kind of joy you'd get from that. Just kind of basic interior cockpit, being able to fly around, and I thought, oh, this looks pretty good. People did report a number of issues with the game, inversion of the steering column, a few different things in terms of the sound and the makeup of the actual plane itself. So this game may be worth a dip for you if you're into something like this, because it's only £5 on Steam in pounds. I didn't catch the US price. Probably $7.
Is it single player?
Single player only. Yeah.
Oh, imagine like having someone next to you in a seat, and you're like the tourist guy. Like, this is New York. Over here, you see this, and the other person's like, oh wow, nice. It would be so fun.
That actually would be hilarious fun, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah. The final thing that I wanted to highlight, and because this game, just in terms of its look, its premise, where it's going, the fact that it's a funded Kickstarter and it's expected to deliver later this year. I think they cited May 2019. This is from developer Abhi Ramani, and I'm just going to run a reel of this. It looks gorgeous, and actually the various modes that are available in the latest released footage really it shows some prowess. They haven't put too much HUD jammed in there in the game. You have interior cockpit view, you have exterior view, and just generally what you're seeing in the kind of the gameplay footage, I think is really promising here. So just read a little bit about Project Wingman, which, as I said, was closed out on Kickstarter. You can't back it anymore. I don't know what the release pricing looks like yet, but as I said, May is when it's planned to come out. So this Unreal Engine 4 game is an independently developed combat flight action game to be released on PC with an emphasis on fun and refined gameplay, true to its roots, inspirations, and an engaging single-player experience. So again, another single-player game, but if you're looking for something, I mean, it's one of the things that I really liked and caught my eye was like the rain effects on the cockpit window. I thought it was really, really interesting. So this says, perfect for those who aren't looking for a simulator experience with the ease of pick up and play, all the way to those who want a fast-paced, challenging flight action game. And so I think, I don't know how much experience you guys have had with these things, but I think if you're going to do, a proper flight game, anyone who's interested in that is going to have a HOTAS, a hands-on throttle and stick combination, or an analog stick. You can get away with that in these games, but for that kind of nuanced control, this game to me looks very promising, and there is a free demo available on itch. So while you're over there to download PT, pick this one up as well and give it a go.
The funny thing is, in the chat, there were Warcott was wondering whether it was actually like a dating simulator. Hence the name, Project Wingman.
That was freaking brilliant.
Nice.
That is brilliant. Best comment today.
Like that.
So that's it. That's the roundup for the releases coming up so far, and those were our highlights for today.
Awesome. Ace Combat, I'm so hyped for that game. I think it looks gorgeous, and I'm really excited to play it.
Also, one more reaction. This one came from VR Gamer Dude, based on Ace Combat and Kingdom Hearts. He says, seeing too many of these VR experience sections in new games lately, just give us the entire dang game. Well, wait for VR to go mainstream, man. It's going to happen. Just be a little bit more patient.
The reason why they're not giving it is because it's not there.
But the thing is, you're still seeing, and coming out of 2018, which you could have said had Sony's hallmark on it, like coming into 2019, they are still putting major brands pushing VR. Even if it's just experiences, it still tells me they're trying to get this funded, because they're trying to seed it into people's interest and then see, just like the Guardians game, just see if people are interested in, if we can invest.
They did that with Battlefield as well, or Battlefront, didn't they? The Star Wars game.
Yeah.
You had an X-wing experience that you could experience in VR only. So I do agree that those kind of like tack-on experiences will be kind of, staple for a while, and eventually it'll switch over. But I think it's great to have these little tasters anyway. I don't mind so much right now, as long as they're premium ones. I don't mind.
But
As long as they are
we
free, I
want
don't
the fully, we still want the fully
Yeah, of
fledged one.
course.
So Don, I hear you, man.
Yeah, a full X-wing game would be incredible, of course.
Don't even tease me,
Yes.
Mike, please.
Sorry. So let's move on to some of our main topics then, and talk about, of course, the news from CES 2019. There was so much stuff going on this week. It was awesome to be sort of a VR enthusiast and sort of lap all this new information up. It was great. So let's start off first with the graphics cards, because this is, of course, what we need to power all these VR experiences anyway. So Nvidia were the ones that kind of kicked off the show, and they had the reveal of their RTX 2060 graphics card. Now, this is a VR-ready card that features the new Virtual Link connector that we've discussed previously on the show, which is a single USB-C connector. So they basically want to streamline everything to make it easier for new users. You just plug in a single cable into your graphics card and you're good to go. And this new RTX 2060 features this connector. And it's actually the cheapest of the 20 series cards that feature this connector. And it's going to be launching on the 15th of January at $349. So pretty affordable for a VR-ready card, I thought. So hats off to Nvidia for that.
I've seen comments though of a lot of people that they were expecting the price to be even lower. They were saying like this should have been the price for like the previous generation card. If you compare it to like the previous generation, then it is a bit more expensive, or quite a bit more expensive compared to the previous ones. So.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what features you want, really. If ray tracing, although it's not in many games right now, is important to you, or this Virtual Link connector is important to you, maybe you want to go this way, because I think Virtual Link is definitely going to be the standard in the future. So you're kind of future-proofing in a way, and that's what you're paying the premium price for, in my mind. But Nvidia also announced RTX and Virtual Link equipped laptops. So taking PCVR on the go will be much easier in the future as well. So that's kind of interesting. I know a lot of devs will be really happy about that, especially when they're demoing at sort of indie shows and stuff like that. But during their conference, Nvidia also had some really interesting stats, as they stated that 4 million PCVR headsets had been sold to date. And this was really interesting to hear, as this is the first time really that we've had some stats from a big manufacturer, because all the other manufacturers, Oculus, HTC, they're kind of like quiet about these kind of stats. They don't tend to release them really. It's only PSVR that tends to, give these huge milestones that they're hitting just recently. So it's kind of interesting to see that there is kind of a big market out there, 4 million.
Wait. So that means that VR is not dead.
VR isn't being crushed or struggling, according to Linus Tech Tips.
Wait,
yeah.
I got tricked for so long.
You did. You got clickbaited by Linus.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I did.
So next up, we had AMD obviously launching their own graphics card as well at CES, and that was the Radeon Vega 7. And this is direct competition for the Nvidia RTX 2080 graphics card, because they're a similar price point. The 2080 obviously launched back at Gamescom last year. And this new Radeon card from AMD features 16 gigabytes of video memory compared to the 2080's 8 gigabytes. It also has a bandwidth of a whopping 1 terabyte. So this is going to be a blistering fast card. But the only disappointing thing is that this isn't going to feature the new Virtual Link connector, which is a real disappointment, I think, in my eyes, because they are part of this Virtual Link consortium group, and they all agreed, Nvidia, Oculus, HTC, AMD, everyone got together and agreed on this one single standard for the future of virtual reality in this Virtual Link connector. But it just seems that they're not putting it in this new card, which is a real shame, really. But it's going to be a fast card anyway, and it still obviously work with current gen headsets. And that's going to be launching on the 7th of February for $699. So if you're looking for a higher end card, maybe it's worth comparing the specs of the 2080 and this new Vega 7 card to see which one's going to give you the best bang for your buck. So that's kind of interesting in terms of graphics cards. Let's move on to VR headsets. Let's start it off with HTC with their Vive Pro Eye. Now, this is the same Vive Pro as before, with the same specs, 1440 by 1600 pixels per eye displays at 110 degrees field of view with a 90 hertz refresh rate. Visually, the only difference between this and the OG Vive Pro is that it's got blue rings around the front-facing eye cameras. So beautiful. Want it for that alone. Obviously, the new key feature of this headset is the integrated eye tracking, which comes from the partnership with HTC and Tobii Eye Tracking, who are the current market leaders in eye tracking technology. Of course, this headset is aimed at enterprise customers for business applications. The key feature, obviously, is eye tracking is really great for gaze-based UI navigation. So you can access menus really easily just by looking at them. And this is great for people showing off demos and concepts to clients without having to teach them how to use like complicated controllers if they've never used VR before. So it's kind of making an easier barrier to entry for demoing for clients. Another key feature, obviously, of course, is dynamic foveated rendering, which we've mentioned on the show before. And this works by knowing exactly where you're looking in real time. So where you're looking on the display, that will be at the highest possible quality. Everything else in your peripheral vision will be at a lower rendered quality. So it means that you've got a bit of a headroom performance on your graphics card because it's only rendering that little spot at the highest quality. It doesn't have to render the whole panel at the full quality.
We have someone in the chat that said, and all of that is available for just the low price of your mortgage.
Yeah, it's going to be super expensive. You're absolutely right, because this is like the Vive Pro even now is super expensive as a package, and I would never really recommend it at that price because it is just ridiculous. But again, it's aimed at enterprise. It's not aimed at us, although pro consumers do buy it, of course.
Yeah, of course people will buy it. That's why they make it consumer available. But the funny thing about this, like this Vive headsets that are being released, they keep on adding. I don't know if you guys noticed, but they keep on adding like one little extension after each like headset they were like release of the Vive. Like it started with the HTC Vive, then it became the HTC Vive Pro. Then it's going to become the HTC Vive Pro Eye, and now it's going to become what, like the HTC Vive Pro Eye Pupil, or like
4K, yeah,
4K. The HTC Vive Pro Eye Max.
Max.
iPhone age, yeah.
One kidney.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, wouldn't you be ticked off if you just bought a Vive Pro and you're like,
well,
heck.
This is my point, and it's a really valid point, because what I really want to know is if you can buy these Tobii Eye modules and upgrade your current Vive Pro. But obviously we didn't get that information at all, so it would be kind of interesting. I'm sure the Vive Pro does have all the same kit there that it needs, so it's a possibility, I guess.
I want to know if I can draw those blue rings on my own Vive, like
You can do that. You can do that at home, Rowdy. You can do that at home. Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. Eye tracking, obviously, there's no games or anything, so like really pro gamers or prosumers don't really need this right now. So I think it will just stick with the businesses. But the most interesting headset, of course, is the HTC Vive Cosmos. This was also announced at the show and kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. We had a little bit of a tease with a name on a box being CO, and some people maybe thought it might be gloves or something else. But yeah, it was the Cosmos. And this new headset from HTC, it isn't standalone. It's just worth noting that from the very beginning. It's not standalone. It's still a tethered headset, although you'll have the option to tether it to a PC or a mobile device. And that's the most interesting part about this headset. And it seems like they're going to be using the new Virtual Link connector, like I said, a USB-C connector. Of course, it features 6 degrees of freedom head tracking and 6 degrees of freedom controllers. And it uses inside-out tracking, just like the Windows mixed reality headsets do. And comes with these 2 fully tracked controllers that kind of look like Quest controllers because they've got this inverted tracking ring and thumbsticks. So they're almost identical to the Quest controllers, which I personally welcome because I think it's great because we've almost got like a bit of a standard platform that developers can port their games over to really easily without too much messing around. So that's kind of good in a way. But it seems like this kind of design, being able to plug it into PC and plug it into mobile, is kind of like almost the Nintendo Switch of VR. And it's funny because when the Quest was announced, a lot of people were asking for that. So it seems like they were listening to that kind of feedback from the community, and they've kind of delivered that in this headset.
Weird.
So yeah, what do you guys think about the Cosmos?
I got some thoughts about that last part you said, because I've been like getting a lot of comments from people as well. I wanted to know what I thought about it. Like, are you gonna get? Should I get like the Vive Cosmos now, or should I get the Oculus Quest? Because with the Vive Cosmos, I can attach it to my PC. But that kind of made me think, like, do I really need another headset that connects to my PC with a cable? For me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And then if I look at what the Oculus Quest is delivering, is a system. You know, it's not selling a product. It's an entire system that you're buying. You know, it's the operating system is on there, the games that you're going to be buying for it, the compatibility with other games already released, the headset itself. So it's an entire package that you're buying, and I still am more inclined to go with the Oculus Quest simply because I know that will be a standalone device that will be supported by Oculus Studios. And for me, content is still more important than the headset that I'm actually using. So if that is an HTC Vive or HTC Vive Pro, I don't really care about that. I want the content that is being delivered on there to be superb. And I still have the feeling that it's more with the Quest and with the HTC Vive and the Pro and HTC Vive Pro Eye and the Cosmos. I don't really know what kind of content is going to be developed for that, because with another headset joining the ranks, there's going to be compatibility issues. There's going to be like developers that have to like implement that now as well, because the quality might be, some people will be probably using it only as a mobile device. So you only have like a certain subset of games on there. And with the PC, you're going to be tethering it, but we don't really know how that will work, if that will work properly. So I'm still not really convinced on that tethering to the PC, and there must be a reason why Oculus is not doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I think the thing is here, like, it's going to be Steam VR compatible. We know that already. The HTC have confirmed that. So the tethering to the PC, you're going to be able to play Steam VR games. You're also going to have access to Viveport, which we're going to touch on a little bit later on. But I think that when you take it on the go mobile, you'll just have access to Viveport mobile store. But of course, the key thing here is that you're going to need a compatible mobile phone, and obviously it's likely to be a HTC mobile phone that is compatible with this, and maybe a Vive branded phone. We don't even know yet. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do. But even if you're not going to take it on mobile with you, you might be interested to hear the possible specs of this headset, because the other thing is, like, of course, being inside-out tracking, you don't have the base stations to worry about. These controllers do look really nice as well, because that was one of the biggest criticisms of the Vive as well, is these ones. And also, like, the thing is, at CES, Qualcomm was showing off a reference design headset. And basically what they do is they make headsets to say, this is kind of like the standard that we kind of set. If you want to use this hardware blueprint, you can use that on your own headset. And that's pretty much, it seems, what HTC have done with the Cosmos, is that they've used this new Qualcomm design and integrated it into the Cosmos. And basically, it kind of gives us a bit of a sneak peek at what the specs could be in terms of resolution and display in this Cosmos, because this Qualcomm headset was also tethered to a mobile device as well, so it borrows a lot from the headset. And if it's true, then the Cosmos could feature a resolution of 2160 by 2160 display panels, so that's per eye, which is even higher resolution than the current Vive Pro. So you could have a super high resolution PC headset that just plugs in with a single cable, inside out tracking like Windows MR, and has got these super nice controllers as well. So I think, it's a really compelling experience, and we shouldn't overlook the fact that really the main use point for this is going to be PC, with the added benefit of
I don't see anyone buying this device because they want to have a mobile headset, because it wouldn't make sense to be doing this then. I think it's then indeed like the selling point is more like for the PC theater, and then just having a better headset. So it's actually competing then with the HTC Vive, the HTC Vive Pro, the HTC Vive Pro Eye. It's more competing with those kind of headsets than it will be on the mobile market.
I'm not so sure, because in the end, people that did have a phone could only use a cardboard or a Samsung Gear VR, those kind of devices. And now you can actually make your phone the thing that runs the headset. And phones are very powerful nowadays. And I don't think HTC is going to go for HTC only phones. I do think it will work best, of course, with their brand. But let's say we have the Razer phone out there. We have a lot of gaming phones too nowadays. So
but there will not be a phone. How will they be running such a resolution without like?
Well, that's the thing. That's what they didn't announce yet. That's what we are waiting for right now.
With cardboard headsets as well. So the game that they are developing needs to support cardboard and this kind of headset as well.
No. Wait. I think you're being confused. This doesn't. The phone doesn't go into the headset. It connects to the phone via USB-C.
But I know. That's actually one of the things I wanted to jump on, because when I saw this and after the day's clouds cleared and it was obvious that the thing wasn't going to be wireless, that wave of disappointment washed over me. heat dissipation seems to be a problem here by design in terms of the logistics, because if you've got that phone, where are you going to put it? Most people are going to stick it in their pocket. That's not a good place for a phone that might have a cover on it if you're the kind of who drops your phone or whatever. Like the heat that's generated in this device.
Yeah.
I mean, the Go gets away with that because it's aluminum cover or whatever, and it's dissipating out the front. And you're probably not that wise if you cover it with a sticker or whatever. But one of the issues for those who haven't had a mobile VR headset is shutdown, battery life, and just the thermal dynamics of the whole thing. So I'm surprised that hasn't been talked about. I don't know if you picked up any details on that, Mike, but
the thing is, they weren't demoing it at all at this event. It was literally no one could even touch this headset. They were super, twitchy about it. But yeah, the thing is, like, and Nathan made a really valid point, because obviously the Quest is going to be limited to that 835 or Snapdragon processor that's in the headset, whereas mobile phones generally have a powerful processor than that now, the high-end ones anyway. So it's got potential that.
I don't see that as an advantage, because you can have a higher-end processor, but that is doing a lot more tasks than only supporting the headset. With the Oculus Quest, it will have indeed a lower processor, but that will only be devoted to the Oculus system. It won't be doing any calls.
You don't have a multi-threading issue. Like, one of the issues you have with application design is how much of my CPU can I afford to give to this app stack.
So the stats may look higher, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will be able to power more.
But you've also got to remember, the point is that the Quest is limited to that hardware, full stop. There's no upgradability. Maybe the first generation of this phone that supports this headset might only be limited by its processor, but future generation phones could be backwards compatible with this headset.
This is like the difference between like having any gaming PC with a myriad of parts and a console that's cheap. And the beauty of consoles, like if anyone remembers like the Dreamcast cycle, the N64 cycle, knowing those fixed constraints, and then once developers get better at certain tricks, the games just get better and better because they're working better within that canvas. But I'm with Rowdy on this one, because when you're so close and there's two ecosystems, I would always pick the closed ecosystem first, because optimization of that is so much easier and more intuitive for developers. Whereas if you're like 10% better or even 150% of the processing power here, how you're going to perform on Mike's phone versus Nathy versus Rowdy, it's going to change so much.
You need to factor in the price of the
phone as well, of course. Yeah.
And if you don't put it in your pocket, this is the thing I was going to say. If you put it on the side, someone's going to drag your phone and smash your phone against the wall. The logistics of this thing just seem really weird.
But the only thing I'm like, everyone owns a phone on this planet, so I don't know.
Yeah. You could actually also be playing Diablo. You could play.
Don't even start. Don't even start.
The thing is, we were all expecting HTC to come with their own standalone VR headset, like the Dev Kit, like the Vive Focus, right? And now they came with a hybrid VR headset, and this is a market on itself again. This is the first of its kind that is a hybrid VR headset. This is I didn't even think of this in my mind.
Yeah, same.
So I think this is a very interesting happening at the moment. Like the Quest and the Cosmos have their own market now next to each other. It's not they do compete, but they also don't, because they have their own. So we'll see. We need more specs. I know. Like right now, we don't know enough. They are going for the smart marketing. They just bring it out, and we are now making the rumors. We are making this headset maybe cooler than it is, or maybe worse than it is. I mean, it's one of those strategies that works, because everyone is talking about it. No one knows what it is. No one knows.
You got to say, shame on HTC, though, for how they fucking represented this thing. I think it was misrepresented out the gates, and that's what caused this confusion about, like, wireless and tetherless. I did not like the way that they opened on this.
There was a lot of confusion about it, for sure, and they should have been much clearer, because loads of questions were being asked straight off the bat, especially the concern about not being compatible with Steam VR, but that was cleared up quite quickly. But this is going to be the first Vive headset that's going to be compatible with the Vive FReality platform, which is basically HTC's equivalent of Oculus Home or Steam VR Home or the MR Cliff House. Again, we don't have any release date or price on this just yet, but we know that devs are going to get these dev kits early this year, so they're going to be developing their games for this platform.
So Sherzad is saying everyone owns a phone. Diablo's motto. Yeah, well, yeah. maybe they share something in common here.
I need to bring two characteristics of the Cosmos up for discussion. Firstly, the flip interface at the front. All I could hear from developers and Reddit was like, thank you. Like, I mean, that to me seems like such a wonderful thing. If you're a developer coding your game and trying to flip back in and out of VR, like having the flip up, or if you're a streamer, like I'm doing that all the time. I'm like a legit old school nose peeker. Like that's how I read chat. People are always wondering like, what software does he use? I don't fucking use software because what's the thing that's consistent and works in everything? When you just cheat the system. You know, and so that's a beautiful feature. And I'm really wondering about the side cameras. Like I guess that's for the reality, the mixed reality. But what else can you do with that? That's just like, I suppose it's just, you know, the scan arena is wider, but I'm just wondering, is there some crazy thing that, you know, Reddit's come up with that you guys have seen or have thought about that is another thing you can do with those like side-facing cameras? Like, what are they for?
No, I think they're just
you can be a horse
cameras.
if you want.
Only look out the side cameras and like be a pigeon.
Yeah. You could build a game based on that. No, but it will like expand the tracking area. I think that's a nice add-on, and I'm really curious how that will improve the.
In terms of tech, I have to say, like HTC has always been on like the forefront. You know, they're always trying like new things, and I kind of get the feeling that they're trying to like throw everything at it and see what sticks. You know, see what works and keep on going with that. But I don't necessarily see it as a bad kind of thing this early in the scene. So
I think it's really smart that they just didn't come out with a direct competition for the Quest. I think that's a smart move not to do that and go their own direction and create their own path. And I think that was a super smart thing to do. And I'm really impressed with what they're doing. And I think this year is going to be super exciting. I've said it many times before. We're going to have a lot going on this year.
Plus, standalone wise, we still don't know what HTC is planning because the Vive Focus is still in development too, and that's a standalone VR headset. But it's a dev kit right now.
That was one of the questions I had to ask myself: was where does that stand in all this mix now?
I was the same.
You know, maybe it will come to the Western market, you know, as a standalone device as well. Who knows? Because they're developing their own controllers for it, like we've discussed on the show before. But let's move on to Pimax then, because they had some interesting stuff as well, and they were showing off the Pimax Business Edition. Because obviously we've got the Pimax 8K, we've got the Pimax 5K Plus, and now this is their new range, which is the Business Edition. And they're going to have business editions of the 5K Plus and the 8K. But at the event, they were just showing the 5K Plus. Has the same specifications in terms of same resolution, 2560 by 1440 pixels per eye displays with 200-degree field of view. However, this is going to be using an OLED display panel, which runs at a slightly lower refresh rate at 85 hertz than the LCD equivalent. But the advantages, of course, of OLED is better black levels and more vibrant colors. And these are the kind of displays that were used in the Vive Pro and the Samsung Odyssey. And having tried the Odyssey, you know, and the Vive Pro, obviously having here in the office, you know, they're really great display panels. So it's a nice little upgrade. Although early reports from people that have tried it, like Voodoo DE, that was at the show floor, said that the screen door effect on this OLED panel of the 5K Plus was more apparent than the original 5K Plus. So it is worth noting that. Although, you know, this headset is more expensive than the original 5K Plus, it looks like this screen door effect is something you're going to have to deal with.
Yes. Also, if you are interested, Voodoo has an English channel now that you should check out. And he made some videos where you can see inside the lens and see how bad the screen door effect is. So if you're curious, go check it out. It's Voodoo
the
English version. Yeah. Let me find a link, or maybe Rowdy can.
Cool.
Yeah.
But the key feature, obviously, the premium price that you pay for this headset is because it's the business edition and is aimed at professionals, because it gives you a professional and commercial license to use this headset in a public space. So this is the headset you'll likely see in VR arcades if they adopt the Pimax as their headset of choice, and will likely come with a premium support package behind it as well. So that's what you're paying that extra money for. So kind of interesting for businesses, maybe not so much interesting for consumers.
It does feel, after Pimax made their statement right before CES, that they are slowly restoring the balance in
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I covered this yesterday in a video of my own, but basically, Pimax offered like this huge apology to the backers and basically, said that they need to be more clear and have a better communication strategy in the future. And they appointed a new head of US service center marketing over there. So they're going to have a service center in the US to fulfill orders, logistics, customer support over there. So everything will be much slicker and quicker.
Yeah.
But also, he's obviously told them that they need to step up their game in terms of the communication, and they've been taking that advice on board. So it's great to see them doing that.
I think this also happened because they now have a president in America for Pimax. So I'm sure he also kind of touched on stuff and said like, we need to bring a statement because I see all this stuff happening. So
Yeah.
I think they're on the right path in that way.
That's good news because America needs a president.
Well, yeah. Well, it's only for the Pimax, sadly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Even for that.
They also were showing off the Pimax Knuckles style controllers. Although they had them right there on the show floor, they weren't actually giving demos of them. You could just hold them in your hands and see how they would feel. And they offered two variations of it, one with touchpads, one with thumbsticks, which they offered straight from the beginning on the Kickstarter because it was a stretch goal. I think it was for hitting $4 million US dollars that they would offer both. But interestingly, on the website, they also offer you to do a mix. So you can have like the left controller as a touchpad and the right controller as a thumbstick, for example. Not quite sure if I'd want that or not, but it's nice that they offer it anyway. But what makes these controllers stand out, obviously, is the design is pretty much identical to that of the Valve Knuckles, which are developed by Valve themselves. And it features similar technology in the capacitive sensors on the grip, so you can literally touch things and it will know when you're touching the grip handle, and you can also completely let go of it and it will still stay attached to your hand, which is kind of cool and could make interacting with objects in VR more immersive in the future. So picking items up and throwing them, for example, could be more immersive with this new controller. The thing that sort of bothered me by looking at the design, though, was that the frame around it, which features the tracking sensors, looks really big and bulky, I think, in my opinion.
Big.
Yeah. I think you might end up hitting your legs or hitting the headset itself, because the headset itself is quite wide, or each other.
Hit the other controller. That's the main thing I see. Or if it's scaled. Anyway, I'm not.
I think it's still work in progress. This is again like
sure.
one of their prototypes.
But what you see, like, is this
the cool thing about this big one? You can hang it on the sides of your Pimax as a,
What we're definitely seeing is, I suppose we're seeing less kind of erratic VR controller designs and this kind of slow coalescence of handsets into a particular design, which will be good for developers because then you've got parity from headset to headset.
Agreed.
The other thing I'm a little bit worried about with like all these like headsets releasing and all these different controllers is still like market fragmentation.
Yeah.
I really think that it's crucial that, I don't know, that at some point that people go and sit together and start like developing a standard for this, because with so many different kind of controllers and so many different kind of headsets, it's bound to get problematic at a certain point. And then people are going to complain about it and say like, oh, well, the headsets might be working fine and the controllers might be working fine, but for certain games it's that, for other games it's that way.
The key here is the developers, because if they decide that your platform's too difficult to develop for, they won't develop for it.
Yes.
And then you're screwed. So
plus right now,
yeah,
the tipping point of VR hasn't happened yet. So all of this is still like causes of a young market that is still trying to. I mean, the moment it goes mainstream, then you will see what headset and what controllers and what games or whatever people want, and they go for it, and then the rest dies off because it's not interesting anymore. At the moment,
and the problem is
scattered.
Also is that if you decide to go with what everyone else is doing, then you've got no unique selling point to your headset. So that's why it's important for these companies to branch off and do something more outlandish. Yeah, for sure.
For the companies, but for the consumers that buy them, that can be very problematic, because that means that you might be buying a headset that you, after this in a little while, won't be able to use, because most of the developers find it too difficult to develop for, to be used in the game.
But that's why we're here, to help the consumers out there know what they need to buy and what they don't.
Out of here.
Yeah, and I don't even think they reached the core of consumers yet. The consumers that now own a headset have still heard about it from some people, and I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and that area.
Yeah, for sure. But Pimax also showed off their eye tracking modules at the show floor as well. They were actually demoing this. These modules are developed in partnership with an eye tracking company called 7InVensun. They're a company that have also developed eye tracking modules for the Vive in the past as well. But this eye tracking module is a free bonus for backers that backed the Pimax on Kickstarter because they helped them reach the stretch goal of over $3 million US. So everyone who bought a Pimax on Kickstarter will be getting this module for free. They were stating on the show floor that they're not quite ready yet, but they will be shipping them out to backers in sort of sometime in 2019. Obviously, plans for including gaze-based UI navigation and foveated rendering as well. So they're going to be working with those. It connects using the USB-C connections on the Pimax because they've got two, one on the top and one on the bottom. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Okay.
And then finally, to round off hardware manufacturers, just quickly touch on Oculus. They weren't actually on the show floor at CES, but they were demoing stuff behind the scenes for select press outlets in hotels nearby. So they were showing off the Oculus Quest, and it seems like they were showing off the same demos that we tried at OC5, which were Tennis Smash, Super Hot, and Face Your Fears 2.
Tennis Smash.
Face Your Fears.
Yeah.
I want to play that again, man.
No.
Just for the Jason Rubin Easter egg.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think we're gonna hear anything or see anything else from Oculus until F8 now. So it's just a case of waiting it out.
It's funny that someone emailed me and said like, "Hey, I found a release date for the Oculus Quest." So apparently, if you're on a service book and you're Googling, then sometimes when you're searching for a product, right, and its release date, you get that fact on top of a page. Well, I don't know, maybe it's fake, but there was like June on there next to the Oculus Quest. But I don't think that's of course confirmed, but it's still funny.
I think is just like what they did with the Go last year is announce it and then say you can pre-order it today, and that'll be likely when the F8 conference is, which I think is the 1st of May. So around that sort of time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's all the news from CES. It's been a pretty crazy week. I've loved all this new news. It's been interesting trying to get involved and keep up with it all. But the Cosmos is certainly my headset of the show. I'm super excited about this. I think it's going to be a really interesting device this year. So
I agree.
It was a good show, but wanted more.
We always want more.
I wanted more crazy. I wanted something different. I mean, some of the consumer electronics were kind of interesting, but
haptic feedback crotch suit.
I'd give it a go.
That's what you were looking for.
Gotcha. I don't know. Yeah, I felt like last year's CS was a little bit more exciting, but I was glad to see something from one of the big names. So Cosmos.
I think there's one thing you like that might be a bit crazy for you, and that's the Holo Ride, where you could actually sit in the back of a car and experience a VR demo while someone was driving. So I think that was kind of, crazy.
The cynic in me sees that and immediately thinks of if you've ever come from an airport and you take an airport taxi, which is anyway a bad idea, you're going to pay through the nose. So don't do that, right? Just plan ahead. If you have to take one, you always, like back in the 80s and 90s, you'd have a billboard or something on the back of the headrest, right? That would be selling you stuff in the local area. Then they turned that into kind of like a portable DVD player. Then it turned into like iPads. And I think this is just like the next thing. This is just an advertising thing. Like they're saying that it's going to be for rides or whatever. I'll tell you what my brain shouts at me. Aside from advertising, I just don't think it's quite safe. I mean, but what's going to happen is, like, fast forward 10 years, you're going to be a family in a car going to the fair, right? Every person in the car is going to have a headset on. No one's looking at the road. The car's driving itself. Like, it sounds crazy, but I think this is where we're going. It's just like, it's nuts.
Wait.
Is this the time capsule message from Zim we're gonna play in 10 years?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. That's.
I saw a video on Twitter of David Bowie talking about the future of the internet, and he was like, "Yeah, it's gonna be the best thing ever, but also a dangerous thing, and it's gonna be art and things like that." It's so funny to just watch messages back. So this one from you in 10 years is going to be highly entertaining, I would say.
Have you got any advice for future Zim? Maybe you can give him some wisdom.
Yes. Yes.
Probably lots
Advice.
of time next month.
Advice for future Zim: get out more. Get out of your bloody headset. There you go.
Great advice. So let us know if you've got any questions in the comments while I round up the show. Obviously, we didn't cover everything that was at CES in terms of AR and VR because there was just so much, but I thought we'd pick out the highlights. You know, Odin were there as well, showing their headsets, which we talked about before. Vuix, which AR glasses were there as well. Cyber shoes, loads of other VR stuff was there. So go and dig around the internet. I'm sure you'll find it if you want to check out some more.
There's a threat in chat here. Wanta UK says, Nathy, will the Christmas tree be down by next week?
Maybe.
Isn't it supposed to be bad luck? Isn't it supposed to be bad luck?
Is it? I don't know. To be honest,
It's typical actually in Belgium and Netherlands to like leave the Christmas tree up.
No.
So, like,
Oh, you noob. Oh, and he's like, you need to take it down, and he has one himself. Wow. Well, according to my mom, I have to take it down next week. She said like that's the max. So then you can't do it anymore.
yeah.
So this week is still allowed apparently.
Mid January, I think, is generally the kind of socially acceptable cutoff. After that,
I could also
people
keep
look
it
at
here
you
for a
funny.
year. Just keep it until it's Christmas again.
If you haven't put it up again, exactly.
Yes.
So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Also check out the audio version available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Anchor.
And
yeah,
subscribe.
subscribe to our
Because
YouTube channel.
we are almost at 1,000, and we would love you to, well, be a member of the podcast and join a discussion every week.
Exactly, yeah. So if you've got any questions, now's a great time. Let's hear some questions before we round up the show.
And definitely consider come watching us live. It's a different experience when you can see our lovely mugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And joke and give us funny jokes in the comments. I enjoy those. I enjoy those funny little jokes we've had today. They've been good. The chat has been on form.
It has
Yes.
been.
They're saying, by the way, Nate, that you're just early for next year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Mike, do you recommend the Anycube i3 Mega, which I guess is that which is behind you? Didn't touch
Yeah,
on that. How's
so-
it has been your first week of 3D printing ownership?
So, like, I've got some previous experience with 3D printing. I used to have access to one at work, and I was kind of like the go-to guy when anyone needed to use it, because I was the only one that knew how to use it. And it was a pain in the ass at work. But this one, it was £200, so super cheap. Came from Amazon, and it was the easiest thing ever. It took maybe like 10-15 minutes to set up. First print was flawless.
What was it?
Calibration was, you do a test one. It's like a pair of owls.
Huh?
It's like a test print.
Someone's gonna like that.
I can show you. I can show you the owl. And basically,
Wow.
I don't know if you can see that because
Yeah.
the focus is on. But yeah, it was super easy to use, and I'm planning to print off a Project North Star headset, which is obviously made by Leap Motion.
Yeah.
It's an AR headset that uses these lenses that reflect the light off two screens that you put behind your eyes. For full real-time hand tracking in AR, which is really interesting.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, super interesting. I've ordered the lenses. They're the only really complicated part of the build process because they have to be specially coated with a reflective formula. But the rest can be 3D printed and bought from off-the-shelf parts. So I'm going to be doing a series on that. So that was like kind of why I bought it. But also I'm going to be printing some gun stocks and stuff like that as well. So really sort of messing around with it.
I'm curious, is Wrench in any way responsible for you wanting to do a project that is this hands-on?
I've been wanting to do something hands-on for a while. Like, I like those who know me will know that I love to tinker with stuff. And because obviously I left my job like 8 months ago, I don't really get to tinker with stuff anymore, which is a bit of a shame. So I kind of missed that part of it. So that's kind of like, you know, getting that sort of
8
feeling
months
back.
ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it was longer.
flies.
10 months ago even could be.
We're
now.
almost celebrating your anniversary on the YouTubes.
I know, crazy.
I was definitely thinking of your 3D printer, Mike, while I was playing Astrobot this morning. Because I don't know if you've done it, but as you collect coins, you go to your Astro ship, and then you can do this little
Yeah.
grabber thing. But some of those little scenes, like the fish or whatever, they'd be perfect 3D printed. I was thinking of maybe writing to Sony or the developers and actually asking, are those models available for 3D printing? Because printing them and painting them would be awesome. I've got one
No,
here
I
that's
love
like
that.
a little
I
frog.
love that idea.
There you go.
Yeah.
Cool, guys. Yeah. That's from a friend of mine who's a 3D printing aficionado. But looking to see what you produce, Mike, and definitely tracking your progress because that looks cool. Good project.
Yeah, gun stocks are some of the first projects for sure.
Yeah. We got another question that was from Campo675. He said, have any of you introduced VR to someone and then not be blown away by it? I have met many people, I have shown it to many people and they were all blown away, but nobody has bought any so far.
I think it's everyone I've demoed it to has been blown away, but I think for each individual they need to have a compelling reason for themselves to buy one. Like I recently demoed Beat Saber here just over Christmas. I talked about it on the show actually, and then he tweeted me about a week later saying he bought a PSVR with Beat Saber and a couple of games. So you know, it all depends on what kind of person they are. Like my parents, again, are mind blown, but they've got no real reason to use it, so they wouldn't buy one. So it all depends on the individual, I think.
Yeah,
it's like the system seller, you know, that they're gonna buy. You know, PlayStation has been killing it. We've been saying it for a while, and they come with a complete system, and people know that if they buy it, it'll be easy to set up, it'll be easy to use, no problems. And I think that's a logical choice, and to go with like a platform like that because it's all integrated.
It's tricky to find out what someone needs to play first as a VR experience. You need to ask them all kinds of questions up front and then kind of make an idea of what that possibly could translate in. Because I showed someone Beat Saber as well. It's like, yeah, Beat Saber, man. Whoa, this is a system seller, man. Everyone is playing it. And he's like, after one round, he's like, do you have a shooter as well? I'm like, what? Wait, Beat Saber's not. And then you go back to, and I also had someone where there were so many things happening on my side before setting it up that he was like, well, it's a lot of hassle to still set it up. So there are always those things that make people wonder if it's really that good, you know?
To Mike, your point as well, I've had relatives who were like under impressed because of how much hype there's been around VR and like it being this kind of transformative technology. Some people get into it like, oh, I thought the resolution would be better, or I thought that so some barriers that are still there. But I'd say one of the most interesting experiences I've found is you put an artist into something like a tilt brush or something, and they did it. You can just see the cogs in their head just spinning, and it's like, whoa, I can paint everywhere. I can paint, you know, and it like changes the dimension of their thought process then. So, yeah. And some of the stuff we've seen, of course, is just beautiful.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I was going to mention some of the quill illustrations that we've seen. So they're like quill paintings that are animated. And if you go into Facebook Spaces, you can access them really easily. It's a good place to view them. But we saw one that was on like a subway train with a load of different robots on there. They're all moving individually, like in the sort of rhythm of the train. And then one was in a VR headset, one was looking at his phone, and it felt like you were on a living, breathing commuter train full of robots. It was so good. It
was made by Goro?
Yeah.
Yeah, he made some other quill illustrations that have really been popular as well.
Yeah. We were actually in one that was a story that was animated, and we were inside that animation together. Super fun.
How do you view that animation? Is that something that's importable to another application, or do you need Quill for that?
No, you can view it in Facebook Spaces, but that's the only platform that I've seen where you can access them as easily as that. I think there probably is others out there, but Facebook Spaces is the one that we got to experience them in. Cool. But yeah, so that's been our show this week. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us live in the chat. We always appreciate you joining us and making us laugh with funny comments. Great comments today. Thanks to all our audio listeners as well that probably listened to this on catch up. Please leave us a review on iTunes because it will really help us out. And we'll be back next week with our show as always. So hope you have a great week in VR until then, and bye-bye for now.
See you,
Bye-bye.
pilots.
Bye.